4 more years, I'm done.
I wake up every day with like a single tear that just falls down my face when I go to work.
I'm just gonna work at my own pace for myself.
Yeah.
I'm gonna work my own hours, I just don't care.
I know, I wanna own a business. I wanna own, this is my genius idea, champagne bar. That's my dream. You guys will find me
Yeah.
having a champagne bar. Maybe like Miami or something.
That's very good.
Oh, you're gonna sit on that side now, from now on?
Yeah, Karen wanted me to over, so
She wanted a buddy?
lonely over here, I
All
guess.
right, yeah, I need a partner over here.
Yeah. In case legal showed up, we wanted to leave that.
I was getting so used to you over here.
Yeah, no. Now Jane's lonely. Well, she got Scott. Hopefully that wasn't, we're not going yet.
Oh, yeah.
This says for the computers.
We'll call the planning commission to order for May 20th, 2021. We start with roll call.
Mr. Cox?
Here.
Mr. Dillon?
Here.
Mr. Moore?
Here.
Mr. Perez?
Here.
Ms. Rohr?
Here.
Mr. Rustinellis?
Here. For the minutes.
Approval of the minutes for April 15th, Plan Commission.
Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Roll call.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Rohr?
Aye.
Mr. Rustinellis?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Mr. Dillon?
Aye.
Moving on, the agenda, number 4, citizens to be heard on agenda items. This section is for anyone wanting to speak regarding items listed on the agenda. Anyone speaking on an agenda item is entitled to speak for a maximum of 4 minutes. It's not a question and answer period, and staff and the Plan Commission do not generally respond to public comments. Please note, speakers who engage in conduct injurious to the harmony of the Plan Commission shall be called to order by the presiding officer and may forfeit the opportunity to speak. Is there anyone here for that?
Hi, my name is Michael Driscoll. I live in Lakewood Prairie Subdivision, and I'm here about the first agenda item for the Redwood Joliet Subdivision. I'm asking you guys if you would please consider a no vote. Some of my concerns are there's no public transportation out that way in Kendall County for high-density housing. Property taxes in the neighborhood are sometimes upwards of $10,000. And I'm concerned that these apartment buildings or apartment townhomes are gonna lower property values and Kendall County's not gonna lower taxes. I also have an issue with it being so close to the school. It is an elementary school, so every kid in the neighborhood that walks to school, because they don't offer bus service to that neighborhood because we're so close, would have to pass by this. And if it was homeowners owning this, I wouldn't really have an issue, but with it being all renters, there's not a face to the house that owns the house. You know what I mean? You gotta go through hoops to get stuff done. So I'm concerned with the safety for the kids there. And also, we have one Aldi in Kendall County in the area. So if we have high-density housing moving in, I don't know how one Aldi is gonna support that. And especially with no public transportation to get to Shorewood or Joliet for Jewel or whatever. But that's all I got. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thanks.
Is there anyone else? Just so you're aware that this agenda item will come up again and you could speak more on it if you like. Let's see, moving on to old business for public hearing. There's none for old business. New business public hearing, first agenda item. PUD 221, preliminary planning and development for Redwood Joliet subdivision. The applicant is Kelly McIver, Redwood Apartment Neighborhoods. Status of applicant is they're the contract purchaser and developer of this proposal. The owner is Ridge Prairie LLC. Requested action is approval of a preliminary plan unit development. Purposes to construct a 152-unit rental townhome development. The existing zoning is R4 multifamily residential. The location is east of Barberry Way, north of Black Road. Size is 22.19 acres. Existing land use is undeveloped. Surrounding land use and zoning to the north is residential duplexes zoned R3. To the south is a storm detention pond, and that's zoned R4 multifamily. To the east is undeveloped A1 unincorporated Will County. To the west is residential single family, and that's zoned R1B single family. Under site history, this subject property was annexed and classified to R1B, R3, and R4 residential zoning districts in 2003 as part of the Lakewood Prairie subdivision. The preliminary, final, and record plats for Lakewood Prairie were approved between 2003 and 2006. Subject site was to be part of a Unit 3 development of Lakewood Prairie subdivision for a 180-unit townhome development, but was never finalized by the original developer. The preliminary plan unit development for Redwood of Joliet consists of 152 rental townhome units on 4 lots. The density for the 22.19 acre site is 6.81 dwelling units per acre. This DUA, dwelling units per acre, is slightly above the maximum 6 dwelling units per acre for an R4 zoning district, but below the original subdivision approvals for Lakewood Prairie, which was approved at 8.11 dwelling units per acre for that 180-unit townhome proposal. The developer has met with the Lakewood Prairie Homeowners Association, and the association has provided a letter that they are not in opposition, and you could see that letter attached to the new proposal. It should also be mentioned, it's my understanding that they tried to do a Zoom meeting of some sort with the neighbors, I believe, yesterday or a few days ago. The developer is proposing to construct 33 ranch buildings with a mix of 4, 5, and 6 unit buildings. It will be constructed in 2 phases, and you could see the attached plats. The units are market rate rentals, with rents starting at approximately averages of $2,100 to $2,300 per month, or $1.62 per square feet. Each will have 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, individual laundry area, and a 2-car attached garage, and you can see the attached floor plans. The buildings will consist of a combination of stone veneer and vinyl siding, and all will contain at least 50% masonry on the fronts and 25% masonry on the sides and rears. You can see the attached elevations to meet the requirements of the approved annexation agreement. Each unit will have individual driveway parking for at least 2 visitors, and 10 off-street parking spaces are being provided within the development in 2 different locations for overflow. On-street parking will also be allowed where appropriate on the public dedicated streets. Access to the development will be within the adjacent public roadway system off Barberry Way and Nightshade Lane. A meandering trail system, extensive landscaping, and a subdivision monument sign are being proposed on site. Redwood will build, own, and manage this development, including all open spaces and amenities. It should be noted that Redwood currently owns and manages over 13,000 apartment homes in Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, North Carolina, South Carolina, Kentucky, and Iowa. All public improvements will be required as per the subdivision regulations and the requirements of the Public Works and Utilities Department. Adequate stormwater detention has been provided for in the existing pond directly to the south. 20-foot wide landscape berm will be established along Barberry Way and adjacent to the duplexes to the north, as is required by the city's landscaping ordinance, and you could see the attached landscape plan. The fulfillment of the park donation has been completed as part of the original subdivision approval. Water and sewer connection fees, school site and facility fees, and developer impact fees will be required for this subdivision. Financial plans, marketing plans, and phasing plans have been submitted, and they are attached to the staff report, and that concludes the staff report.
Okay, do we have the petitioner on hand? Step to the mic, please.
Did you want to do your presentation now? They have a PowerPoint of their own
Go
presentation.
ahead. Give your name, please.
My name is Kelly McIver. Do you need an address?
Okay. I can't hear you.
Do you need an, is it all right if I take my mask off?
You can take it off, yeah, I'm not,
Do you need an address for the record?
if you have one, yeah.
Yeah, 7007 East Pleasant Valley Road, Independence, Ohio, 44131. Are you gonna flip it or you want me to do it?
If you would like to, you can.
It's a little less awkward then.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you. And it's, which one, the green one?
Yes. The screen on the computer.
So I put together a presentation today to tell you a little bit about who Redwood is, who our residents are, what we generally build, and what we would like to build here.
It's not working.
This is our sign. So it's got a stone base and there's landscaping around it, so it's a really attractive entry there. Oh, it's okay. Do you mind scrolling up just a little more so we can catch that sketch at the bottom, please? Thanks. So Redwood's an apartment. We build apartment neighborhoods. We build one thing and one thing only. Single-story apartment neighborhoods where each apartment has 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a 2-car attached garage, a 2-car driveway in front of that, and a 10-by-10 patio on the back. So if you drove through one of our neighborhoods, you wouldn't see what you would expect to see with traditional multifamily with the big multi-story. You'd see something like what looks, a little drawing at the bottom, what looks like a single-family ranch condominium development. There's some pictures coming later in the presentation, but it starts to give you a flavor of what our neighborhoods look like. We've been building apartment neighborhoods since 2003, and we own everything that we have ever built. So if there's ever a question of, if there is a problem, who do you call? It's always Redwood, because we own our neighborhoods. Jim had mentioned that we have over 13,000 apartment homes. That's important because later in our presentation, I'm going to give you some pretty granular facts about who our residents are. And when those facts come from a sample size of, say, 50 apartment homes or 100 apartment homes, it means something different than when it comes from a sample size of 13,000, right? You can still have outliers, but it gets really hard to meet the averages at that point. On the right side of the screen, you can see our core values. I won't spend too much time on them, but they are very important to us. If you ever come to our office in Independence, Ohio, each one has its own wall with a mural on it that talks about the core value. We have them on cards, they're screensavers, we get quizzed on them. So there's something that we really do live by. And our number one core value is do one thing really well. And what we do is build, own, and manage apartment neighborhoods with single-story apartment homes with 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a 2-car attached garage, 2-car driveway in front of that, and a 10-by-10 patio on the back. Can you scroll, please? So this is where we are. We're across the Midwest and the South. This is where you really start to get to see a picture of what our apartment homes look like. So the ones that we're building in Joliet are upgraded from this, but I'll start to give you a sense of what it looks like on the streetscape. So you can see the masonry on the front, dormers, grids in the windows. You can see the upgraded garages. Every garage has windows with carriage details. There's decorative louvers over the garage. So it really starts to give you the sense that it does not look like a conventional apartment home. Could you scroll? Thanks. So right now we're at about 450 employees, and what I do is the smallest part of that. There are about 50 people in acquisitions and development. The remaining 400 employees are on the property management side. That is what we do. We're not apartment builders. We're not apartment flippers. We are property managers. And when we build a new neighborhood, we are investing not just in that neighborhood, but in our company. So my job is to feed that beast and create more neighborhoods for us to manage. We do own everything we have ever built. All of our sites have a dedicated leasing professional and 1 to 2 dedicated maintenance professionals. I would say in about 60% of those neighborhoods, our employees actually live on site, so they're there day in and day out. If we find a really great employee who's a great fit and they have a house in another neighborhood, we're not going to make them sell them their house to come live with, come work for us. But in about 60% of our neighborhoods, those employees do live on site. Very closely managed because, as I mentioned, we do build these and own them in perpetuity. So it's very important to us to build a quality project and build it in a way that protects the asset. So when you see pictures later, you're gonna see concrete driveways. So it's concrete, right? It's more expensive up front, but it's easier to manage long-term. Our homes are stick construction, not prefab. They're built to single-family home standards. They are HERS rated for energy efficiency. They are Energy Star certified in our construction practices, although we don't get the certification at the end because that's a little extra dollar. But we do build these things in a way that makes them easier to manage and more attractive and valuable over the long haul. And we'll talk a little bit more about maintenance as we get further down. So who lives in a Redwood neighborhood? So across our portfolio, about 70% of our renters are empty nesters. Average age is 51. You'll find people on either side of that, but the average age is 51. And most of our residents come from within a 3-mile radius of the neighborhood that we're in. So they are already people who are in Joliet, right? They're already people who are volunteering at the library and coaching the Little League team, but their kids are grown and they're tired of mowing the lawn and paying the property taxes, and they're looking for a little different option. And the question is, where do you go? My parents are dealing with this right now. They raised 6 kids in a 4-bedroom house in the suburbs, and they paid it off like 15 years ago, and it is an amazing market right now for sellers, not so great for buyers. So they're looking to downsize, but the cost to downsize right now is going to eat up a lot more of the equity than it would have had 3 years ago or 4 years ago. And so the question is, where do people who are done with the big single family living go if they still want to stay in the neighborhood they're invested in? And so we are able to offer that age-in-place solution to neighborhoods and to those residents. The other 30% of our residents are generally young professionals. We are very popular with people with odd sleep hours, hospital personnel, airport personnel where we're near airports, emergency personnel. It is not unusual for us to have police officers and firefighters living in our neighborhoods, and that's because they are very quiet. There are no basketball courts, there are no tennis courts. Part of that is because we're cultivating a quiet atmosphere. Part of it is because these are people who are already invested in the neighborhood and watching their dollars. So if they're already in the community center or the LA Fitness, they don't want to pay twice for that in their rent. And then we build our homes so that they are very quiet inside. I was visiting a leasing manager in Iowa, and a neighbor came by to apologize because apparently she had this little tiny dog and he'd been yipping away, and she wanted to apologize for the noise, but the fact is I hadn't heard any of it. So we do build it with a great deal of insulation and soundproofing inside, so you can have that good, quiet feel. We are very high maintenance. As I mentioned, we have maintenance professionals on site. If you need your package taken in from your garage to your kitchen, we'll do that for you. If you need your light bulb changed, we'll do that for you. If on trash day you need your trash taken from the garage to the curb, we will do that for you. When you are charging an average of $2,100 to $2,300 a month per rent, people expect a level of service, and we are happy to provide that. We are between 94 and 97% occupied across our portfolio, and you can't get those rents and that occupancy without delivering to your residents. Could you go ahead? Thanks. So just to dial down those facts again, we talked about the age of our average age is 51. We talked about where people are coming from. The average number of residents per apartment home is 1.65, which really bears out that empty nester. So you're not seeing families, you're not seeing big groups living in homes generally. Whether we are in an A+ school district or a school district that might be facing some challenges, we have an average of 11 school children per 100 apartment homes, which with 152 homes here would be about 16 children in this neighborhood we would expect to see. They are generally the children of the winner or loser of the house battle and the divorce, depending on how you look at that. So a lot of times we find that they are actually already in the school system. We have about 1.5 cars per apartment home. In Joliet, the average single-family home in this area has 2.3 cars per home. The average multifamily apartment in this area has 1.8 cars per home, so we do generate less traffic. Additionally, this site was originally approved for 180 homes, and we're looking at 152. So not only do we have less traffic and fewer people than approved using the roads, our residents being empty nesters tend to not travel at peak hours, so our impact on traffic is generally pretty minimal. Our average lease is 1 year. We find that The lease provisions are very strict. We actually did an analysis, a side-by-side comparison of our lease provisions with the Lakewood Prairie HOA declaration, and in every case, we were compatible with or stricter than the use restrictions in the Lakewood Prairie HOA declaration. That peace and quiet atmosphere is very important to us, and we find it's easier not to renew your lease than to evict you if you choose to, if your lifestyle is not compatible with that quiet atmosphere. This is a little bit about how we vet our residents. People always get, you hear renters and people always get, there's sort of can be a knee-jerk emotional reaction that renters are not desirable. I always just want to look around a room and just ask anybody who has never rented an apartment home, just raise your hand, right? Most people have rented a home at some point in their life, and I would hazard a guess to say that most people in this room are pretty decent people. So it really is just people, but we still vet everyone. We are not age restricted. We are FHA compliant in all our rental practices. So if you meet the criteria, we will rent to you. Everyone who is going to live in the home who is over 18 must appear on the lease and must go through the background check process. That includes a rental check. So if you've been evicted, we don't rent to you. If you pass bad checks, we don't rent to you. There's credit check. There's also a criminal background check. So if you have a violent assault, we don't rent to you. If you have a certain number of DUIs in a certain period, we don't rent to you. And that way, we are able to control who lives in our neighborhood more closely than most of the single-family neighborhoods whose HOA docs don't address that. Now, Lakewood Prairie does have a crime-free leasing program, and we did compare our application to the Lakewood Prairie crime-free leasing policy. And again, our policies are compatible with or stricter than the Lakewood Prairie crime-free leasing program. So very compatible with what Lakewood Prairie and our neighbors are seeing when they rent out their single-family homes. The other question we get is, what are you renting for? Do you take Section 8? We don't accept Section 8 vouchers or any housing subsidies. There's nothing wrong with those programs. They answer a need. They're not what we do. We are market rate across our portfolio. These are some comps of some apartments in the areas, and you can see that our rents are compatible with the rents that we're seeing in the areas, with an average of $2,100 to $2,300 per month, $1.62 a square. I actually think that this number is fairly conservative. Because we are a little newer in the market, our finance team is being conservative with the financial models, and because it pencils at $1.62, our ops team isn't pushing the rents. But you can see that some of the homes that are near us at similar square footage but no attached garage or with an attached garage are getting more rent. My expectation is that our rents will push up. We use a program called Rent Cafe that adjusts our rent daily so that we make sure that we are charging what is appropriate to the market. That actually happened because we were like 99% occupied, and our banks were like, you're not charging enough rent if you're 99% occupied. So we got involved with Rent Cafe, and now our rents are pushed all the time, and we are at an occupancy rate that makes our banks happy, which is 94 to 97%, most of our neighborhoods with wait lists. So here we get into some of the pictures, less of the facts and more of the pictures. You can start to see what some of the homes look like, the things that we talked about, that neighborhood feel streetscape. You can see some different garages, some of the window trim, and the patios with the views of the detention ponds. And then here's some of the interiors. I'll show you what we had planned for Joliet. I must put it in a different order, but we'll just look at the interiors real quick, and then I think the exteriors will pop up again. So the homes here are going to be about 1,300 to 1,600 square feet of livable space. It doesn't include the 200 square foot attached garage. Plank flooring, granite countertops, big vaulted ceiling, lots of light, everything you would expect, those premium finishes that you would expect at this rental rate. The interior of our homes are all ADA compliant, so there is zero entry from the garage into your home. There is the knobs are levers, not doorknobs. The walls are plumb for grab bars. The light switches are at the appropriate height for wheelchairs. So again, just another way to appeal to the empty nesters who's looking for a place to age in place. what I really like about this slide is the picture on my right, I think it's your right as well, side of the master bedroom, and you can see out the window. And what you can see is the exterior of the home across the street and the streetscape. And you can really see that it just feels like this sort of warm, single-family streetscape. It just looks like what you might see driving through any single-family neighborhood. Just some more pictures. This is some of the floor plans that we're doing. What I really like about this slide is there's a quote at the bottom from one of our residents. Our marketing team pulls these like once a month just to give us an idea of what we're doing great and what we could work on. And this one came from a guy in Ohio. I never knew how important it could be to have your own private entrance and garage. With my wife being a post-heart transplant recipient and no immunity, it just made a world of difference in keeping her safe. And you talk about age in place and what that means, but I don't always think about myself. I haven't always thought about what it means to someone who's facing some challenges before they're aging, and how this is a great solution for those people as well. And just it's a superhuman quote, and it's always nice to see some humanity in your business. Here's just some more floor plans. You can keep going through these. Just some interior photos, just to give you a sense. You can just keep scrolling through these. I don't want to spend too much time on them. It just gives you a sense of the light, the air, the way it feels to live, the money that we invest in the interiors as well as the exteriors. So here we get to a little maintenance. Obviously, we take care of all our maintenance. This is a public road, so we're not plowing the road, but we will be shoveling all the sidewalks and the driveways and the walkways between the home and the driveway so people can get in. You can see there, we do that at 2 inches. The grass cutting is very specific. I'm glad I'm at the landscaper that has to maintain a height of 3 inches, removing more than 1/3 of an inch of blade of grass. Power trimming, landscaping. We also participate in what's called a Forever Tree Program. It's a program that our ops team piloted with a national landscape vendor. And what that means is that none of our trees they may die, but none of our trees will ever be dead on site. So there is a lifetime warranty on every tree. If the tree dies, it is automatically replaced. We don't have to ask for it to be replaced. The landscaper will note that on his weekly tour through the neighborhood, and we'll make sure that that tree is replaced. So it's a pretty unique program to any multifamily developer. And then long-term maintenance. People always wonder, so what's it going to look like in 10 years? It's great, it's brand new, that's all nice and shiny, but what does it look like 10, 15 years from now? So this is actually one of the oldest neighborhoods we've ever built. It's the second one that we built, and the first one that looks like, where you can start to see the genesis of the Redwood project, of what the Redwood product, what it looks like now. So this was built in 2006. So we have a capital reserve fund that we're required to keep from our banks. We're all private lenders. We also have an internal capital reserve fund so that we can do maintenance, replacements, and repairs that we think are appropriate to maintain the asset and to maintain competitiveness in the market. So you can see that this was built in 2006. In 2017, it won a slew of awards for external community appeal, and you can see how the landscaping is thriving, it's lush, that grass looks great. You can see the exterior of the homes, there's no buckling on the vinyl, there's no chipping on the color. You can really see the care that we take. And then on the bottom, you can see an apartment and an apartment turn. No bank is making us flip out carpet for plank flooring. They're not interested, they're interested in the exterior of the asset. But here we are, we go in and to maintain competitiveness in the marketplace, we do those upgrades. So you can see where that carpet was pulled and the plank flooring was installed. In other markets, we'll pull out the countertop and replace it with granite, those sorts of upgrades. So these are things that we do on our own to maintain the asset. And you can see at the bottom, the rents are incredibly competitive in that market, $1,500 to $2,400 a month, and that is 97 to 98% leased right now. So when we say we're here for the long haul and we take care of our asset, this is just a demonstration of how we do that. So here's the site. Jim talked about this a little bit. You can see it east of Barbary, south of Stonecrop and Fawn Lily, and north of that detention pond. Before you flip, I wanted to talk a little bit about our work with the HOA and that detention pond. The first thing we did when we found the site, one of the first things we did was get in touch with the HOA because obviously we're going to be very close neighbors. The land is not, has not been amended into the HOA, and there is no intention to become part of the HOA. With 156 152 votes. That's, they don't want us, we don't want to be part of it, like, you run your own place there. But we do want to be good neighbors. So we, you see, there's a letter of no objection from the HOA officers in your packet. We've also agreed to take over maintenance of that detention pond immediately south of us. It's not been maintained, it's been left natural. There's beaver damage, there's some phragmites, there's a little bit of erosion on the banks, and that's part of what we're gonna do, some capital repairs there, then we're gonna take on the ongoing maintenance. In addition to that, we've secured a commitment from our vendor to offer, you can see across the street, Lakewood Prairie has its own detention pond on the west of Barbary, and that's being maintained and color charged and those sorts of things. And their contract is pretty expensive with that. So we've secured a commitment from our vendor to offer our pricing to the Lakewood Prairie HOA if it would like to use our vendor itself. And that way, if there are any price savings, the HOA can get the benefit of whatever buying power that we have. We did have a meeting last night with the HOA. You know, Mr. Driscoll, I think he might have been on the call yesterday, and there were, so we had about 17 homes on the call. The socials today seemed very positive, but that is not to say that people don't have concerns and that they won't voice them later, so. So here's the site as it was approved. That's that 180 multifamily attached that you see there that Jim had referenced earlier. I think this is multi-story. It was done for 180 units, 8.16 units per acre. And then can you flip? Thanks. So this is the concept plan that we proposed. It is 28 fewer homes. You can see we've kept the general road alignment. So we tried to make it as close as possible to what the city was already comfortable with. 152 homes, so 28 fewer than what was permitted. Our density is much lower, all single story. We've got a lot of berming and landscaping along both the northern end and Barbary. And that was stuff that we did that in accordance with the HOA officers. We ran our plans by them and got some feedback from them to make sure we incorporated those comments. And then some connection through there. Go ahead. So these are some of the exteriors. These are the homes along Barbary Way. So you saw in the presentation that most of our homes have the garage in front and the patio on the back, but we do have a model of home that we use along streetscapes, exterior streetscapes that's got a front porch. And we looked at the homes that were along Barbary. This is Google Earth, so the lighting is terrible on these homes, but these are what's across the street from us, and you can see it's got like the front porch. It's got some window with trims, it's got some with shutters, it's got a little bit of relief with the eaves. And the garage doors don't have windows on them, and we're not seeing too many accents in the eaves, but there are some decorative louvers. So just to give you a sense of what those homes look like. So we tried to design our home in a way that was compatible with both Joliet's brick ordinance, the quadrant design requirements, and our homes across the street. So you can see here we've got the front porches out, mimicking that front porch feel across the street. We've got that 50% stone across the front. We've got a lot of relief over the eaves. Our eaves do have shake or board and batten accents, so that'll dress it up a little bit more, and that stone carries around the side. Most of the windows have the 6-inch trim. And then this isn't a good demonstration of the landscaping. This is just a demonstration of the home itself. But the landscaping will have that berming with the shade trees and the ornamentals and the bushes and those sorts of things that you see in the landscape plan. So we really tried to make an effort to make this area compatible with our neighbors across the street. And then these are the homes that we back up to along Stonecrop and Fonnelly. All duplexes. You can see the garages. Some have windows, some don't. You've got the eaves again, the decorative louvers and the eaves over the garages. You've got stone up the front carrying all the way up to the second floor on some of those elevations too. So very attractive. If you could flip it. And then these are this one and the next slide are some elevations that we're proposing inside. So again, we've got that 50% stone on the front, shake or board and batten accents in the eaves over the garages, the upgraded garage doors with the carriage details and the windows. This shows a raised roof truss. We've also proposed some dormers to break up some of the streetscapes as well. So again, trying to be, can you flip to just the last one? So again, trying to be really compatible with the existing neighborhood and with Joliet's maybe additional design requirements that have come about in the meantime. So that is That's my entire presentation. I did want to touch a little bit on property values. So this is a question that I get a lot. How do you affect property values? Do you affect property values? I provided the HOA, and I did I provide them to the city? The property value studies?
I don't remember seeing that.
Okay.
Could have.
I can. So we have several studies that look at apartments and various types of apartments next to single-family neighborhoods, up to like $500,000 homes. 2 from Harvard, 1 from MIT, 1 from Utah. And all say the same thing, that being next to an apartment neighborhood does not affect the value of a single-family home. It doesn't affect it negatively, it doesn't affect it positively, it just doesn't have an effect. So a couple years ago, I was entitling a neighborhood in Superior Township, Michigan. And in this neighborhood, I'm just gonna do a quick drawing rather than showing it on my hand. So you can see this. This is a very like sketchy drawing, but this is single-story condos, ranch condos, and they carried over here. And then all this was single-family, and then right here was the rest of the single-story condos that hadn't gotten built when the economy went bust and off. This is the way into the neighborhood, and this is the way into the neighborhood. So you can see where we are is in the back of an existing single-family and condo neighborhood. So the neighbors who were there were very concerned about their property values because not only we were adjacent, we were like right inside. So the township hired an appraiser to go out and look at, in Michigan, specifically in Michigan, so they had direct comps, what the effect of an apartment next to a single-family home neighborhood was. And I said, how can I help you? And he said, don't do anything. I don't want your help. It's got to be hands off. It's just the township. And I said, okay. And when I got the study, I was surprised to find that they had gone out and looked at, of their case studies, most of them that they had used were Redwood, including one that is actually in part of a single-family home at the entryway. And in every single instance, Redwood had no effect or a negligible positive effect, just like a tiny de minimis effect on the property values of the homes it was next to. So not only did I now have studies from these big institutions, but also specific case studies of Redwood's effect on property values. And that has been the case wherever we have gone. There's, that's just the fact. We don't affect property values positively, we don't affect them negatively, they just are what they are. So if there are any questions, I'd love to answer them. If there are any concerns, I'd love to hear them.
Go ahead.
I have some questions mostly about the community and the Zoom call. Just
Yeah.
because, we've gotten a ton of emails that we've all reviewed. I've actually gotten a ton of phone calls too. And so when you say it was positive, I'm curious how much notice they had, how many people participated, and what their concerns were. I also want to preface this. I come from a real estate background. So I also know that you're absolutely right, that, it's negligible impact on, I love the proposal, but it's very different and it's very scary.
Yeah.
And I think that people, just from the feedback I've got, I think people are very scared. So I just want to hear the impact that you guys, made and what that Zoom call entailed.
Yeah. So I'm going to answer that question by backing up a little bit to my first interaction with the HOA officers, and then I'm going to go into the Zoom call last night. So a couple months ago, I'd been meeting with the property manager, chatting with him, and he had been chatting with the officers to get any questions, and then I would provide some information and would kind of go back and forth. And then he said, well, why don't you meet with them? And I said, that's absolutely fine. So I met with the HOA officers and gave them basically this presentation with a little bit of tweaks because the site plan has changed and some sorts of those things. And when we came out of that meeting, some of the HOA officers were neutral and some of them were very supportive of the project. And so that was great. And I usually, in my experience, the HOA officers generally speak for the HOA. So I had a positive feeling going in. And then Jim had said, can you provide a letter to that effect? And I said, well, let's see what I can do. And the very next day, the HOA provided that letter. And then the public notice went up, the sign went up, and the public notices went out. And I called the HOA property manager and I said, hey, are you hearing anything? And I've been checking in on the public Facebook page as well, just to see if there were any other questions I could answer. let me step back. Then there was an HOA meeting a couple months ago in which our project was introduced, and I offered to come to the meeting, and the feedback was that it might be better, if I didn't, because I'm not part of the HOA, and that was an HOA meeting. But I was given a list of concerns that were brought up at the meeting, and I created a Dropbox with some information and then a whole bunch of questions that people had asked, and that was published on the Facebook page. And then on the public Facebook page, there was a little bit of concern, mostly support, and then it was quiet. So then public notice went out, and I called the property manager and I said, hey, the sign's up and the notice went out, are you getting any feedback? And he said, yeah, there's some people who are concerned. He said, people are telling me they're supportive, but some people are concerned. And I said, well, why don't we have a meeting? So I think that was last week. So I was gonna have a meeting Monday, but, so the HOA posted the Zoom link on their Facebook page, promised to post it on their Facebook page. And I was also sending out meeting invites with some additional information, but USPS right now is very stressed. So I didn't want to have it Monday. I wanted to give enough time for the notice to get there. So the meeting was last night. So 17 homes were on the call. People raised some concerns. I answered some questions. At that point, no one said, I don't like the project. No one said, go away. No one said, this is inappropriate, which I took as a positive sign. I checked again with I had some to-do items, most of which I've done since last night. There were some asks coming out of that meeting, so we were able to satisfy a good portion of those. Not all of them, because they require some research, but most of them. Asked again this morning, and the public Facebook page was supportive or generally quiet. So I anticipated that some people would have concerns and that we would hear from them. I anticipated that you might get some emails. My understanding is that you may have also gotten some emails in support. So I'm not surprised. I know this is my business, and building this is not personal to me, but people's homes are personal to them. And when you're proposing something that's different, it is frightening, and there is a sort of a knee-jerk reaction when you hear apartments. And so because we are so different, what I've tried to do all along is provide all this information. And this is except for the maintenance slide, this is the exact presentation that I gave to the HOA last night. So I'm trying to give a lot of information, a lot of consistent information to help create some comfort with the project.
Okay. Yeah, I just, I started off as a leasing agent, and I did Schaumburg all the way down to Joliet, and I had like 800 apartment complexes that I covered. So I can literally lay out floor plans for you at all apartment complexes, and this is very unique. We don't have these here. Mm-hmm. So I think that there is a huge concern about how different they are and what it's going to do to their property. And to me, it's just, I don't know, we got a lot of negatives, and it's a lot of miseducation. So I would suggest working with homeowners. We're probably going to hear some tonight. I went through and read all of them. He has them printed out here. So it just makes me nervous because, like I said, there has been so much feedback. We don't get a ton of feedback here. we don't get a lot of people blowing up our phones at the Planning Commission. So, to get that much, it is concerning. And so we're going to hear people. I imagine we're going to hear somebody's got to be here. So I think that educating people would work best in the interest, because I just don't think people understand or did not have enough notice for that Zoom call to hear it for themselves.
I have a couple of questions. What do you guys, you got 152 units. Mm-hmm. How much do you expect to pay in taxes on each unit?
The assessed value is probably going to come, we expect it's going to come in somewhere maybe around 110,000. So the taxes would be based off of that. I don't have that calculation, but I can get you that calculation.
And then we do not usually get this much negative feedback. Last time I got this much was
North Point.
project for North Point, and 99% of the people were outside of Joliet. They weren't in Joliet. Mm-hmm. When did they? I got a lot of phone calls, and a lot of things I didn't know. When did they change it? Because a lot of these people brought their houses, I guess, and they're paying big taxes, anywhere from 8 to 10 grand. And in their original paperwork, there were supposed to be no rental units around that neighborhood at all. And they were guaranteed, and then I was told that somebody voted on something and it changed that aspect of it. Do you know when that happened?
I can't speak to what someone else may or may not have promised someone or what's appropriate for someone to
Oh, I
promise
understand
someone.
that, I just wondered if you knew.
No, I do know that it is currently, it's always been zoned for multifamily, a single-family attached use.
Yeah,
So,
but not a rental fashion though. It was always, if you wanna build townhomes or houses, everybody I've talked to said, yeah, sure, go ahead, build that.
yeah,
Does
I
your
don't,
company do that at all, or just it's all rental?
no, this is the only thing that we do. I don't know that it is, legally appropriate for a salesperson to promise that someone will be discriminated on for the basis of ownership, so I don't know that any of those promises could have been made ethically. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I mean, the neighborhood's been there for a while, so I understand.
Well, it could be in the homeowners bylaws that it was not for rental, and maybe at some point it was within the
Somebody
HOA?
changed it.
Is that possible?
It's possible, but a good portion of Lakewood, I can't say a good portion, there are single-family homes in Lakewood, Prairie that have been rented out. My understanding is that there are some absentee landlords that have caused some problems, which is probably the genesis of the Lakewood Prairie current leasing policy.
Okay.
That would be.
Yeah, because I know one of the letters that I read said the HOA originally either had possession of that, and then, that's what the letter said. They had possession of it, and they said that there would be no rentals, and then once they went bankrupt, that land, that home ownership didn't extend to that land, and
No,
then,
that land was never amended into the HOA.
okay,
You have to, forgive me if it's something you know, but every time you add a piece of land to the HOA, you have to do an amendment, pulling it into the declaration, and that land was never pulled into the HOA, so it's
Okay.
never been subject to the covenants there.
okay, so it was never owned by the original developer.
It was owned by the developer, but the developer didn't put it in the HOA.
Got it.
Because once you put in the HOA, you have to start paying fees and things on it, so he doesn't, you don't put it in until you're ready to build it. Generally, that's what single-family home builders do.
You said no section 8, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Have you guys ever sold any of your stuff?
No, we own everything we've ever built.
And how many years has it been, 30?
From 2003, we started building.
2001?
2003, we started building, so 17 years.
Any other questions from any of the commission? Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
Chairman, where will your leasing office be? I mean, is it in one of the units? I'm not sure how that works, or you have a separate?
It's a separate office, so if you come in off of Barbary and you're coming straight west, and then at the first intersection, you make a left. See that little bump out there? That's the leasing office.
Oh, there it is.
And you mentioned, like, you had national landscapers and stuff. Do you have like a national builder you use, or how do you build the unit out?
So, Redwood has its own construction company, Redwood Construction Company, that bids everything and is the site supervisor, and then we use local trades. So, we're building right now in Lockport, and all our trades there are local.
Okay, thank you.
You have a question, Ricky?
Yeah, I had a few of them, some of you got answered. When you rent these out, are they furnished or do people have to bring their own furnishings?
You bring your own furniture. We do offer some design services, like if you wanted to engage someone to help you furnish it, we could help you with that, but generally people bring their own.
Okay, the other thing is, you said no Section 8. Is there any percentage or what percentage where your renters do have government subsidy?
None, we're fair market housing, we're fair market rentals, so everything is what the market will bear. There's no subsidies.
So
There's no
basically, you do a background check on the people and to make sure they're financially capable of renting.
Yes, yes.
Okay, you said the property values of the single-family homes they did a study on it and it was in Michigan. What part of Michigan?
All over Michigan, mostly like the Detroit and up into the, like.
It wasn't around Detroit or nothing like that?
No, it was around it, in like the Detroit suburbs. So, something that would be comparable to say, like a Lockport up to say like a Barrington. So,
Well, the reason I was asking is because sometimes in Michigan, anything around Detroit nothing's gonna be going up in value.
Oh, no, we're not that close to the urban areas. We need, because we've got 1,300 to 1,600 square feet plus 200 feet of garage plus patio plus driveway. There's never enough land for us to do any sort of infill. We're always in the suburbs.
Okay, and the other question, you've never sold any of your properties?
No, we own everything we've ever built, yes.
Okay, thank you. And it was a very good presentation.
Oh,
Yeah, it was very good. Are there any other questions, comments? Is there any other citizen that wish to have speak on this? Yes, ma'am, step up. Give your name and your address, if you would, please.
My name is Darlene Bramer. I live at 1014 Wood Irish Drive in Joliet in the Lakewood Prairie Subdivision. I'm actually one of the original owners from the subdivision. So when you were talking earlier a little bit about, I've been there 15 years. When you're talking about the issues with that land and how it was added on or whatever, my understanding of that was that they, like you said, they only annex it when they're ready to actually build. It was intended to be part of it, but my understanding from the HOA was that there was a ball was dropped about some paperwork that had to be done back in 2007, 2008. Somebody didn't file something that they were supposed to keep it under the HOA's original thing, but it was supposed to be part of the association when it built out into that area. Because Lakewood went under, at the very beginning, they only did a certain amount of houses and a few of the duplexes, and then it didn't finish. It was supposed to be 900 homes in the original plan for that subdivision, and we're nowhere near that. And so that was kind of the issue with that. I know you guys mentioned that question earlier, and I wanted to give you that information as well. We mentioned the issue that the homeowners are having in the subdivision. I can tell you as a homeowner, there's a whole bunch of us that have got zero interest in doing this. We have concerns like my neighbor here mentioned about home values and things like that. There's a few other things that we're worried about. I think in addition to that, I actually was on the Zoom meeting for this as well last night. And personally, I'm not on the Facebook at all. So I did not actually get notice of the meeting until like yesterday or the day before. So some people might have missed that meeting because of that reason, which is probably why the low attendance was. I will also say, one of the things about this subdivision or this planned area is they actually have to go through our Lakewood entrance. Like we have our big sign with our big name on the entrance. They have to go in there next to the school and then come in and turn right and have a sign for them. So it's kind of part of our thing, which is kind of a strange thing. And again, like the look is different. But the other thing about our subdivision is we actually have a clubhouse, we have a pool, we have 2 parks, we have all these things. And this group is not part of that. They don't pay into the HOA. So they're not allowed to be using those facilities, but how do you police that? For us, when we're looking at, people coming in, there's how you're gonna know who's doing what or who's supposed to be where and those kinds of things. So there's some issues with that as far as the neighbors are concerned. Furthermore, the other thing that I've noticed, and I'm in one of the single family homes up near the front in the beginning area, I was within the first 3 months of the subdivision being built, my house was already finished. And so in that area, it's been fine. People have lived there for years and years and years. Over by where they have the duplexes, some of those units have been rented on an occasional basis. Not all of them, there's a percentage, I don't know what it is, but some of them have been rented. And my issue is not so much with the idea, like I think one of the other people said, is that if they were going to build townhouses or something in this area, that's fine, because somebody might decide to choose to buy one and then turn around and rent 1 unit or 2 units or here and there. My issue is also they'll be all rented, and one of the things I've noticed as a 15-year resident of this subdivision, wherever where I'm at in the subdivision, the owners all get along. We all like live and let live. Most of us have been there at least a decade or more. There's no conflicts. There's no, breaking rules, primary issues, things like that. But I do notice that over where the duplexes are, where the rentals tend to more be than anywhere else, there are more issues. There's lots of conflicts with the neighbors. They're always fighting with each other and causing lots of different problems. And that seems to, I don't know if that's because they're not an owner and they're not invested in the community the way that an owner would be. I'm not sure of the demographics or what the reason is or what causes that, but it does seem to be an issue that tends to be with the renting, which is probably why most of the homeowners that have talked to you guys are worried about this, because that's usually where our issues tend to be. The other thing that they're talking about is this company's talking about how they're doing their owners in all their subdivisions average the age of 51 years. In this instance, I do not agree with the idea that that will happen for this subdivision, because it's literally across the street from a school, and not just a school, it's Jones Elementary, and that's one of the really good schools in the area. The principal's fantastic. There's a reputation in the area, I know because I live there, that people want to go to Jones. They want to be in our subdivision, they want to be in Sable Ridge, which is across the street, because they feed into Jones. And I feel as though the school itself, the specific school, will actually draw a younger crowd, which isn't so much of an issue, but then the issue for myself is that goes into those schools. And I don't know if, I'm sure you guys all know, as part of the government stuff here, is our 5th and 6th grade and 7th and 8th grade is ridiculously at capacity. We've been trying for 3 years, I think now, to get a bigger school built for our middle school. And because of this being right next to these schools, it's my fear, as well as a lot of other people's, that these are gonna surge into our schools because of the location, and our schools are already at capacity. Jones is over 500 kids already, and I think it's 6 of their capacity. The middle school and junior high is so bad, they have to have changing classrooms like they have to stagger their times for changing classrooms, so there's not too many kids in the hallway. They're literally body to body to body at the junior high and the middle school over there. I know this because my children are going into that level, that age right now. So I'm very concerned about that. The other thing that concerns me about this particular property, they talked about the average age being 51. However, they also talked about the fact that the average person rents for 1 year to 2 years. If they're retiring and they want to be by their family, why are they only renting for 2 years? That doesn't make sense to me. If you're looking to downsize, you would think you'd be there more than a year or 2 years. That's just me. I don't know. That's just my opinion on that. So that's kind of some of my issues that I'm worried about. The other thing that I'm also worried about is as they're building, and even when they're done, what happens when they have empty units? What are they going to do? Are they going to lower their price? Are they going to lower their standards of what they will allow in the subdivision? How will they manage that issue? And will that then cause a issue with who they allow into the subdivision, or lowering that bar or lowering that cost? So there's definitely some issues along those lines as well. I think that was pretty much everything I had to say. You guys have anything that you want to add or questions?
I have a question for you. As a citizen that lives in that, I don't live in that neighborhood. You live out there, you're a Joliet citizen. For the planning commission, I mean, not for the planners down in Joliet, to tell them, what would you rather have out there?
I would even be fine.
Townhomes,
Yeah,
or-
I'd be fine with townhouses or duplexes. That's kind of what we signed on for when we moved in the subdivision, that there were going to be single family on one side, and then the other side of Barberry is the duplexes and townhouses. And I think duplexes would be fine, townhouses would be fine. I just feel as though the large amount of renters and the issues that can cause, even just with the kids being across the pond, noise and the kids being out there. If these people are over 50 or 51 and over, I have older kids. I'm 44, almost 45. I get it. Kids are loud. I wouldn't want to be next to the school either. And I feel as though that also is going to affect that demographic, those numbers that they give of a 51-year-old age average. I would not want to be 51 plus and want to be across the street from a freaking school. I'd be like, absolutely not. It's too noisy. It's too loud. The kids have recess. Absolutely not. So again, while they may have that in their communities in other areas, this is a very different thing. Not only is it next to houses, but it's literally next to the school. It's absolutely adjacent to the school, directly over the pond. So I feel like that added thing to it in terms of the location of the school is going to change that demographic a little bit for that as well.
Okay,
So,
thanks.
yeah.
So basically, your biggest concern is that it's renters rather than owners.
Yeah, I feel as though, in general, I feel as owners have, I think, a better sense of
Investment.
the community, and that's kind of more where I'm concerned about. Owners have a desire, I feel as though, the neighbors I've had for 15 years, the exact same neighbors, the same people on the whole side of the neighborhood. We all get along, we don't mess with each other, we don't pick and choose. Oh, so-and-so didn't cut their grass fast enough, or so-and-so didn't put their garbage cans out right. We know each other, we tend to get along and just like, oh, it's fine, live and let live. And I see that a lot over where it's a majority of owners. We just there's less strife, there's less conflict, there's less, it's more peaceful for the entire area. And I feel like that is just one of many things that could be an issue for that.
Okay,
Is there anything else?
thanks.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else, any other, go ahead, ma'am, step up, say your name, and you can take the mask off so I can hear you better. Your name and address, where you live.
My name is Amanda. I live at 909 Barbary Way. Actually, my house was the middle one on the house slide.
Famous.
Yeah. My house is right at the entrance where the sign will be, so right at that T. Besides all of the concerns that they mentioned, which are all valid, my main concern is that line that says that the northeastern entrance may only connect for emergency services. I think that is going to be a huge traffic problem. If you look at the zoomed out map, we actually have fairly excessive elementary school traffic already. That entrance where the sign is going to be is where we have crossing guards for the kids. Everyone that goes to the elementary school, because Black Road doesn't connect to County Line, everyone for the elementary school comes down either Barberry or Black Road from Ridge Road, which is fine, it's a school, I get that. But if you don't connect Black Road, and you don't add that upper entrance, the traffic, I think, is just gonna be, I think Black Road between Ridge and the elementary is gonna be 100% full. It already is sometimes. So I guess my big thing that I would push for is if they're gonna move forward with the project, to at least at a minimum require them to make the upper entrance there a normal entrance that they can come and go from, to try to alleviate some of that traffic that's gonna conflict with the kids in the school. So does that make sense with that map? A much better solution would be to continue Black all the way to county line, but I believe that's probably been pushed for before, so.
That is actually proposed for next year.
Okay, that would be way better, but at a minimum, I would love that upper northeast entrance to be a requirement, to be a full entrance.
Yeah, a lot of times, even the fire wants a dual entrance to these places, okay?
And that was it, that was my main concern.
Thank you.
And these are public streets and they will connect.
Yeah.
They can't gate,
Sure,
they
eventually,
can't
yeah.
gate that off.
Okay.
That kind of build on what she said, is literally at the pickups and drop-offs, there's literally a line that goes all the way down Black Road for the elementary school just to drop the kids off for school already. Every day from 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock, there's, I mean, a line the whole way down. It goes past, like if you see where the school's in the bottom there, the line will come out there and it goes all the way past the entrance of the subdivision and halfway down to Ridge. So a lot of times when I'm cutting through the subdivision, I can't even get in line because there's cars past that entrance already, just waiting for the kids, and that's just for pickups. So again, you have construction traffic and additional traffic is the sharing entrance.
Okay. All right, thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the commissioners? That being said,
John,
yes,
she'd like to speak.
go ahead.
So just a quick response to some of the concerns that I had, that we heard from Deirdre, the concern that our residents would utilize the parks and the community center up in Lakewood Prairie. There are some things that we can do to discourage that. There's education, we put some things in the lease, some of those things to make sure that doesn't happen. And that if it does happen, that it is addressed. As I mentioned, we do have a very strong on-site management presence. Even when people don't live there, it is staffed 6 days per week with on-call presence on Sunday. But in most of our neighborhoods, someone does live there, so we can address that. There was some concern that residents wouldn't get along with each other and that they would have conflicts that seem to be arising maybe from the way that people maintain their homes or their garbage and things like that. And that's one of the nice things about having a single owner of the entire neighborhood, is that we manage the mowing. It is always mowed to the same standard. We manage the garbage. I mean, there's no dumpster. Your trash is in your garage until pickup day, then you take it out to the curb, and before evening that night, you take it back to your home, and that is regulated by the lease. So if you don't do that, there are consequences for you. So those sorts of conflicts would not arise. I can't speak to interpersonal conflicts. I don't know what that might be like, but conflicts arising from those things we can manage. There's a concern that we would have younger residents in 51, that we would overcrowd schools. So I mentioned most of our residents come from within a 3-mile radius. Within a 3-mile radius, 30% of the population is over 45. So 30% of that population is in that empty nester area. The site currently allows for 180 townhomes. We are allowed to restrict who lives in our home to 5 people per home. That is FHA mandated. Our average is 1.65, but you can't have more than 5 people in the home, 2 in the bedroom, 2 in the other bedroom, and 1 in the den. In townhome for sale, there is no restriction on how many people can live in your home. So not only are we proposing fewer homes than is allowed, we also are able to restrict who lives in the home. In addition to that, there's a note in your packet from the Minooka Schools District saying that there is capacity in the schools for what they would expect to see. We say 11 school children per apartment home, generally 100 homes generally already in the school system, but that's our number. Minooka uses its own number based on its tables, so we pay the cash in lieu, we pay the donations based on their numbers, and that capacity is based on their number, which is higher than than that 11 school children per 100 homes. So Manuka has already said that there is some capacity there. There was a question about how we will manage empty homes. I don't have an answer to that because that has never happened. Everywhere we are 94 to 98% leased with wait lists. So I can't answer the question because it's an incredibly successful project, partially because it is so unique and it does answer a need that's not being addressed anywhere in the marketplace. And we choose our sites very carefully to make sure that that doesn't happen. There was a concern that the school would be too noisy for Redwood residents. Everyone's opinion is valid. I just present an alternate opinion. My mom is in her 70s, and one of the things she loves in her neighborhood is the sound of the kids playing outside. It makes her real happy. But they're not to say there are people who don't feel that way, but there are people who like that sound just as much. And then the last concern was from Amanda, whether the northeast entrance will connect. We have proposed perhaps gating it off at the beginning of the project, thinking that maybe that would make some of our upper neighbors happy. And the city's been very clear that it is a public road, it will connect, so there will be traffic through there. Again, that traffic, Barbary Way initially anticipated 180 townhomes. We are at 152 with lower traffic counts than one would expect from a single-family, traditional single-family residence.
Okay, thank you.
And just before you close, I just want to make sure that everybody knows that we received 22 emails on this. 19 were against and 3 were for it, just so everyone's aware
against,
that we
3 were
received
for.
all those, yes.
Okay.
And you received those.
Okay. Does anybody wish to make a motion on this in some way?
I would almost entertain it. I see pros and cons here. I think it was a very good presentation. I have a concern about the people that bought these homes in the first place with the idea that it's gonna be a single-family neighborhood and owner, and they made a substantial investment and are paying substantial taxes to live there. Being that this was kind of short run, if she had her meeting last night and that late, I wonder if the homeowners association out there, if this was tabled, maybe, that they could get enough people together to see, or we could get a better representation. I know what we had for North Point here was something else, was against it and stuff like that, and some for it, but I'd like to see a better representation. So,
Why do we need to table it, though?
well,
It would eventually go to council, so I
Yeah.
think that, I don't know, my personal
I would like to
opinion-
see if more people, how many people really are against it out there.
Well, they sent emails, and you got 3 that came here.
Yeah.
For us, that's a lot. You've been on this
Yeah.
longer than I have, and Joliet people they'll say something if they don't like something. And it sounds like, well, from the emails and from the phone calls, I got phone calls, I thought.
Yeah, percentages against it.
I didn't get this many phone calls when we did the North Point thing. Of course, they were all outside Joliet, and we don't, no offense, I hope we listen to Joliet people.
Well, just,
I don't know, my suggestion is to work with the people there, because I feel like there's a lot of miscommunications, because you have been able to sit here and, bat down these things, but we don't live in the subdivision. So I would like to make a motion, as a no, which would be, how do we do that?
Make a motion, no.
Make a motion
To turn it
for
down.
no for, I don't know what the number is.
21 is.
21 dash, and with the recommendation to work with the community, because I truly believe that there need to be more rentals here in Will County, and I'm a huge, advocate for that. I just think that this is so new and so different from anything that we've experienced in the area, that people are, right now, they're hard-nosed, and I think that you need to talk to them and not us right now.
Okay, so the motion, one to table, Bridget wants one for PUD 2-21 for no. Do I have a second?
I second.
A
She
second.
got a question, I don't know if you want to entertain that, John?
Question, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Carrie Hansen. I'm with Shoppy Design Associates. We're a consultant for Redwood. As a procedural note, does your ordinance or do your policies require that if there is a negative recommendation from the Plan Commission, does that change the vote required at the City Council? And if so, we would prefer that it be tabled to be given the opportunity to work rather than come with a negative recommendation from the plan commission.
A no vote would mean it's a hard majority at city council. And you can get that very easily if you get all the citizens on board,
I don't know.
or at least if you
I
have a
would
majority.
prefer the opportunity to work with the residents before we have a negative vote. And then if it's still a negative vote, so be it, and then we understand that it's is it a simple majority or a supermajority?
Supermajority.
It'll be 2/3. Then I think it's in our best interest to request that it be tabled.
Okay, there's two motions up, so we need a second of something.
Okay,
Okay.
beg your pardon?
We have to address the motion to table first.
Yeah.
So we would need
Yeah,
a second to
we had
that,
a motion
or-
for it to table, we had motion for no, and then we have a question. Was there a second on tabling? No. Okay, there was a second on the no. And then, okay, Sabrina, for parliamentary reasons,
Yeah, do you want to
Can we give it a
reiterate it?
third?
Sure, I said we address the motion to table first. So
we did, and there's no second.
no second, so that dies. So now you'll make your
So
other.
then answer the question. Okay, so we got a second, so we get roll call for a no for the PDU 2-21, roll call?
There was a second to deny?
There was a second to deny, yeah.
No, there was no second yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you
Second.
did? Oh, I didn't hear you.
Yeah, I said
You're so
no.
far
Second.
away.
You heard it on the
Sorry.
tape.
Okay, Mr. Perez,
No.
No, as in,
Nay.
you're not, you
Oh,
don't
no, you
want
wanna,
to
you want, if you're voting no, then you
No,
have
that
to
means
vote
you want the
yes.
project,
Oh,
yes.
no, yes.
Yes.
Yes, too.
So aye, it would be the,
Oh, aye.
Aye.
there.
Ms. Rohr,
Aye.
Mr. Roosevelt,
Aye.
Mr. Cox,
Aye.
Mr. Moore,
Aye.
Mr. Dillon.
You know, you did a great presentation. It is a nice thing, but it's not the area for that in Joliet, not that part of Joliet. Maybe another piece of property, but because most of those people out there, 'cause I got phone calls, this is how they were brought, this is how they wanted to buy it out there. And I understand that concept, and I hope I always kind of, especially when the majority say they don't want it, go with the majority of citizens of Joliet. So I gotta say, yes, to shut it down.
so the motion carries to deny, and this will go to city council, in second meeting in June with that recommendation for denial.
And they can always change everything at city council.
Moving on to,
Can I ask for a straw poll, how many of you would have supported the project if there was more citizens?
Beg your pardon?
Can I ask for a straw poll, of how many of you would have, just to show of hands, how many would have supported the project if there had been more people generally support?
Not there, wouldn't have supported there, because the citizens brought, I mean, the phone calls, I got, even the phone calls, not the emails, but the phone calls were because I brought the property, like, there's supposed to be no rental by me. Okay, I got it, 'cause I'm in that business too. I got it, you don't want rental? Okay, fine, I got it. You're paying that
Yeah,
extra
I
money,
don't,
fine.
I do have a problem talking about a hypothetical, because I do see it all connected, so I'm gonna have to.
It's a
to-
good
yeah.
project, we got a lot of land in Joliet. We got land that's not even developed, it's so far out. There's nobody out there to complain about anything.
But, thank you. Thank you.
moving on to the next agenda item, A221, annexation of 21,000 square feet lot located at 3502 Green Meadow Lane, classification to R1 Single Family Residential Zoning, and approval of an annexation agreement. Under general information, the applicant owner is Richard Nerzik. Requested action, approval of annexation, classification R1 zoning, and approval of an annexation agreement. The purpose is to connect existing home to city sewer. Location is 3502 Green Meadow Lane. Size of the lot is 21,000 square feet. The existing land use is a single-family house. Surrounding land use and zoning to the north is unincorporated Will County and R1, single-family residential. To the south is unincorporated Will County, and it is single-family residential use. To the east is the same, and to the west is the same. Under site history, we found none. Under special information, the property owner requests that the city annex his 21,000 square foot property and classify it as R1 Single Family Residential so that he can connect his existing single-family home to city sewer. Property currently has well and septic. Several other properties in this neighborhood have annexed into the city over the years as shown by the attached area annexation map. The nearest city water line is located 200 feet southwest of the subject property and is currently a 6-inch line. The nearest sanitary sewer with capacity to serve the subject property is located 200 feet southwest of the subject property. Property will be required to connect to city sewer within 60 days of annexation. This extension will occur from Wildwood Drive through an existing utility easement across the vacant lot that is south of his property. Property owner will be financially responsible for bringing the sewer line to the property, connecting the property to the sewer line, and paying the tap-on fee. Should a city water main be extended closer to the subject property at a future date, the property will be required to connect. Sewer and water connection details and fees will be further defined as part of the annexation agreement. Property owner may seek a separate recapture agreement with the adjacent properties as he moves forward with plans to connect his property to sewer. Detachment fees for the Troy Fire District and Shorewood Troy Library District have been paid in the amount of $2,165.41, and that concludes our staff report.
Okay, do we have the petitioner on hand for this?
I am Rick Merzick, the homeowner of the property,
Do you have anything else you'd like to add to it?
just supporting the annexation.
So you want to connect to the sewer for the city, huh?
Correct, yeah, we're all about 45, 50 years old out there, and there's an opportunity there, so I just thought I would take the opportunity, and I know there have been people in there that have issues with their septics that had to be replaced, and would prefer to have the city sewer versus a septic when that day comes.
Okay, okay. Any questions, comments from the commissioners?
I just got one question. Scott, will he have to run a main or just the 6-inch service to be able to run?
Yeah, he's gonna work with the utilities department. Again, they're gonna bring it through kind of the back of the lots, so
Okay.
whatever their requirement is. They're not making them run it up the street and then across the street to the property.
Good.
Okay. Any comments or concerns from any citizen? Any other questions? A motion?
So moved?
Second.
Okay, you got a motion for approval then?
Yes.
It is?
Oh, yes.
For A-2-21. Roll call?
Ms. Rohr?
Aye.
Mr. Roosevelt?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Mr. Dillon?
Aye.
Next agenda item is A321, annexation of 2 parcels located at the northeast corner of Chippewa Street and Iroquois Street. Classification to R2 single-family residential zoning and approval of an annexation agreement. Under general information, the applicant Nicole Murray from Will County Habitat for Humanity. The owner is also Will County Habitat for Humanity. The requested action is approval of an annexation of 2 parcels, classification R2 single-family residential zoning, and approval of an annexation agreement. Purpose is to allow the construction of 2 single-family homes in the city limits and to connect the homes to city utilities. The location is the northeast corner of Chippewa Street and Iroquois Street. Size of parcels, one parcel is 3,250 square feet. The other is 6,500 square feet. The existing land use is vacant land. Surrounding land use and zoning to the north is R2 single-family residential, and that's a park. To the south is unincorporated Will County, and that's single-family residential. To the east is the same, and to the west is R2 single-family residential in the city, and that's a single-family house. Site history, we found none. Under special information, Will County Habitat for Humanity seeks to annex these 2 small parcels, then combine these 2 small parcels with the adjacent smaller lots that are already in the city limits to form 2 buildable lots. Habitat intends to construct 2 single-family homes on these 2 future buildable lots. The attached future house sites map shows how these lots will be consolidated to form 2 buildable lots, each with 75 feet of frontage. House plans have not been submitted to staff at the time of writing of this staff report. The proposed R2 zoning request is consistent with the surrounding land uses as shown by the attached aerial map. Several other properties in this neighborhood have annexed into the city over the years as shown by the attached area annexation map. The nearest city water line is located 100 feet west of the subject property and is currently an 8-inch line. Nearest sanitary sewer with capacity to serve the subject property is located 100 feet southwest of the subject property. Properties will be required to connect to city water and sewer at the time of construction of the homes. At that time, the property owner will be financially responsible for bringing water and sewer to the properties, connecting the properties to the water and sewer lines, and paying tap-on fees. Property owner will also be subject to the city's development impact fee. Sewer and water connection details and fees will be further defined as part of the annexation agreement. The detachment fee for the East Joliet Fire Protection District has been paid in the amount of $153.76. Property is not in a library district, and therefore library detachment fees are not required, and that concludes our staff report.
Thank you, Jim. Do we have the petitioner on hand?
Hi, good evening. I'm Lori McPhillips. I work with Habitat for Humanity. I'm their Division of Real Estate and Acquisitions. And Nicole Murray, our Executive Director, is here as well. And
So-
we currently own 5 parcels there, and we're looking to annex the 2 that are outside the city of Joliet into Joliet. The other couple are in Joliet already, and then we have a consolidation petition that will take over then and then make 5 parcels into 2 so that we could have that 75-foot frontage and build 2 homes. And we're looking to build 2 separate, different styles of home so that it conforms to the neighborhood as well.
How big are these homes gonna be out there?
They're usually about 1,200 square feet, 12 to 1,300. One will be like a split level, and then one will be a ranch style. And we're building a home right now, and if anyone goes down Rayner, but we're building one at 1517 North Rayner right now. So if you go by that, it's, that one's almost ready right now. It'll be ready in about a month and a half.
Okay. Any questions, concerns from the commissioners?
I have one. Same question as last time, Scott. Are they gonna have to extend the sewer and water down in front of the houses then? Okay, that's all.
Extend it and then services off.
Okay, thank you.
Any comments or concerns from citizens? Seeing none. Can I get a motion for, A-3-21?
So moved.
Second.
That's for approval, right?
Correct.
Yes, yeah, good. Okay, roll call?
Mr. Roosevelt,
Aye.
Mr. Cox.
Aye?
Mr. Moore,
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Rohr,
Aye.
Mr. Dillon.
Aye.
Now we'll go with the recommendation for approval to the second meeting in June, City Council.
Thank you very much. Should I stay for the next one too? Because we're,
Oh, the next one's yours too?
Can.
it is, yep.
You got any more
We've been
besides
busy.
that?
That would be it, just the 2. Ours are shorter presentation.
Subject of the next case, A421 annexation of .23 acres located at 800 Magnolia Drive, classification to R2 single-family residential zoning, and approval of an annexation agreement. Under general information, the applicant is Nicole Murray, Will County Habitat for Humanity, and the owner is Will County Habitat for Humanity. Requested action is approval of an annexation of .23 acres, classification to R2 single-family residential zoning, and approval of an annexation agreement. Purpose is to allow the construction of a single-family home in the city limits and to connect the home to city utilities. Location is 800 Magnolia Drive. Size of parcel is .23 acres. Existing land use is vacant land. Surrounding land use and zoning, to the north is unincorporated Will County, single-family residential use. To the south is R5 high-density multifamily residential, and that's church use. To the east is R2 single-family residential use. To the west is unincorporated Will County, and that is a single-family residential use also. Site history, we found none. Special information, Will County Habitat for Humanity seeks to construct a single-family home on the subject property. Would like to annex this property so that the home can connect to city water and sewer. The proposed R2 zoning request is consistent with the surrounding land uses as shown by the attached aerial map. There was previously a house at this location that faced onto Black Road, which was demolished between 2015 and 2018. At this time, Habitat intends to situate the house facing Black Road and utilize the existing curb cut. Nearest city water line is located 100 feet east of the subject property and is currently a 12-inch line. Nearest sanitary sewer with capacity to serve the subject property is located 100 feet east of the subject property. Property will be required to connect to city water and sewer at the time of construction of the home. At that time, the property owner will be financially responsible for bringing water and sewer to the property, connecting the property to water and sewer lines, and paying tap-on fees. Property owner will also be subject to the city's development impact fee. Sewer and water connection details and fees will be further defined as part of an annexation agreement. The detachment fee for the Troy Fire Protection District has been paid in the amount of $257.76. Property is not in a library district, and therefore library detachment fees are not required, and that concludes the staff report.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, so you're the petitioner for this one. I got a question for you right off the bat. Are these people volunteered to build these houses then?
Yes, the Habitat program, the way it works is, it's a hand up, not a handout, so we actually, the recipients of the homes have to qualify for a mortgage, so they have a mortgage on the property, and then Habitat will hold a silent second for some of the differences, and the way we are able to do that is because, and we have to sell it at fair market value, so we have to have an appraisal and sell at the appraised value, but then there's volunteer labor, we have corporations, churches that are conveniently located across the street, and also, neighbors and friends that help build the house. And then we also get a lot of donated labor and trade people that come in and will put in plumbing or putting in a roof or things like that as well. So it'll keep the cost of the property down, or the construction costs down. And then we also get grants. We get grants from the county, grants from the city of Joliet to help out and with the construction costs and the cost of building.
Okay, did you ask President Jimmy Carter if he'd come to town?
That would be very nice, wouldn't it?
It would be. Yeah.
Yes, we had Millard Fulmore, which is actually the guy that created Habitat. He was here back, I've been involved for 20 years, so back in the day, he came to Fairmont, actually. But it would be nice.
Any questions, concerns from the commissioners? Any questions, concerns from the citizens? Any motion for approval on A-4-21?
John, on this one, everybody received we got one opposed email. Hopefully everyone saw that. And then just from the Forest Preserve, we received a letter just wanting us to be aware of drainage issues and construction issues to their adjacent trail.
I did see that, the second email, I didn't see the opposed one. What was it, what were they opposing about it? Just curious.
Just a visibility issue. I don't know if you want to see it.
And I have pictures if you want to see regarding visibility.
He's got it here.
And I think there's a 10-foot setback off the street of Black Road, so we would not, of course, we'd follow all the rules as far as creating the visibility there, and we would even work with the neighborhood as far as plantings.
You'd be facing towards Black, right? I remember hearing that.
Right.
One opposing versus a lot of people opposing is a lot different on things.
And we're great neighbors as far as we'll work with the neighborhood if there's anything that we need to, as far as, but the 10-foot setback, I think, should help as far as visibility. I think it was on the corner there, over in the building department here.
Okay. So do I have a motion from anybody for this?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve, do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Rohr?
Aye.
Mr. Rusonellis?
Aye.
Mr. Dillon?
Aye.
And this one will also go to City Council's second meeting in June with a recommendation for approval.
Thank you very much.
Back down to it.
Next case,
Next?
P321, preliminary plat of Mound Road Logistics Center subdivision. Under general information, the applicant owners are Transport Properties LLC. Status of the applicant is they are the operators of this site. Property owner is TP Mound Road LLC. Requested action is approval of a preliminary plat. Purpose is to allow for a 5-lot industrial development. Existing zoning is I-2 General Industrial. Location of this is 2951 Mound Road. Size is 23.97 acres. Existing land use is vacant, former clean fill site. Surrounding land use and zoning to the north is warehousing and Interstate 80, and that's B3 zoning. To the south is vacant land, and it's I2 zoning. To the east is a fill site, vacant land, and that's I2 zoning. To the west is truck terminal, and it's I2 zoning. Under site history, the parcel 1 of the area in question was annexed and zoned I2 in 1970 as part of a 1,375 acre expansion of industrial zoned land in the city. Parcel 2 of the area in question was annexed and zoned I2 in 1996 to be used as a landfill with the adjacent property. Under special information, Transport Properties seeks approval of a preliminary plat for the creation of a subdivision with 3 lots and 2 outlots. They seek to develop the property into 3 industrial tenant spaces. Transport Properties intends to lease the 10.1 acre lot 1 to a user for truck tractor and equipment sales, service, and repair. The proposed user has been identified as Navistar. The 7.15 acre lot 2 will be sold to a user who will establish a truck CNG fueling station, and I believe that has been withdrawn, and so that is no longer valid, the CNG fueling station. Let's see, the 2.6 acre lot 3 will be rented or sold to a user for truck and trailer parking. Transport Properties has indicated that the user of lot 3 will likely be the user of lot 1 or lot 2. Uses intended for lots 1, 2, and 3 require special use permit approval. Zoning Board of Appeals recommended approval of the special use permit request for lot 1 and lot 3 at their April 15th, 2021 meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals. These 2 special use permit requests are scheduled to be considered by the City Council at their meeting May 18th. This last part had the special use for the lot 2. The CNG fueling station again has been withdrawn. The proposed plat includes 2 lots. Outlot A is a shared private ingress-egress drive. Outlot B is for a shared stormwater detention pond. All public improvements will be provided for as per the zoning ordinance, subdivision regulations, and the requirements of the Public Works and Utilities Departments. Sewer and water tap-on fees, the sewer and water surcharge fee, and the development impact fee will be required at the time of the writing of the staff report. City is in the process of determining whether the property owes recapture fees for the future development of this property. And that concludes our staff report.
Thank you, Jim. We have the petitioner on hand.
Good evening. This is Nate Washburn. I'm the attorney for Transport Properties LLC. I generally want to thank you for your time and say that I support staff's report on this. The one bit of clarification I will give is with respect to Lot 2, as Jim mentioned, there has been some change on Lot 2. The original proposed purchaser, the contract has fallen apart. It is now, we have other people interested, but we're not sure what that will be, but it will be a compatible use to the surrounding uses. And I don't believe there was anything else I heard that I thought I needed to clear up, but the current, the special use permits that were heard this week by City Council and approved by the City Council for lots 1 and 3.
Okay, so the second lot is gonna be something different, and you don't know at this time.
Right now, there are discussions with potential tenants and or purchasers, and early indications are that it would be either something similar to Navistar, where it's a truck tractor use, or potentially an equipment laydown yard for people needing to store heavier equipment while doing road projects. I believe are the current potential issues.
Question, Sabrina, if we approve this, does this come back to us again if they make adjustments, something new on this then?
No, it would not. It would go to council.
Does it hold us though if, so it doesn't come back, so if they make something different than what they're supposed to do?
The special use permit would go back to ZBA and City Council, but the lot as it's drawn is your purview. The actual use, that's why we went to ZBA and City Council for the special use permits for lots 1 and 3. So whatever we decide to do with lot 2, when we figure it out, we will have to apply to ZBA for a special use permit and take that through them and then to the City Council. So the city will have at least 2 more cracks at deciding whether whatever use on lot 2 is appropriate for the city.
You're not really approving the uses here, you're just approving the subdivision. And to be clear, you'll have another look at this because it has to come back as a final plat. So you'll see.
Yeah, I just wanna make sure that if we didn't like the final plat, that
Yes.
people don't like to change after they said one thing and.
I think they filed for June with the final
Yes.
plat for this, so you'll see that in June.
All right. Any questions, concerns from the public, from the commissioners? Questions, anybody? Is there a motion on the floor for this?
So moved.
Second.
In favor, I take it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just making sure. For B-3-21. Roll call?
Mr. Moore,
Aye.
Mr. Perez,
Aye.
Ms. Rohr,
Aye.
Mr. Roosevelt,
Aye.
Mr. Cox.
Aye.
Mr. Dillon.
Aye.
Okay, next on the agenda would be, old new business not for final action. We have none. Under public comments, this section is for anyone wanting to speak regarding non-agenda items and are allowed a maximum of 4 minutes. It's not a question and answer period, and staff and the plan commission do not generally respond to public comments. Please note, speakers who engage in conduct injurious to the harmony of the plan commission shall be called to order by their presiding officer and may forfeit the opportunity to speak. Is there anybody here in attendance to do that? You want to?
I just want to say thank you guys for hearing us and, listening to our concerns.
Yeah, just so you clear, it's not over, because it still goes to the city council.
Right, no, I know, but I know, I appreciate, and I'm sure others in the community appreciate you guys listening to our concerns and going up, or yes, but no, however that works.
Thank
You
you.
better talk to your homeowner
That's what
association
you,
board.
or get them organized.
Is there anything else, Jim?
Our
Just-
homeowners association and
All those in favor, are you done? Yep, he's done. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Nays? Yeah. Sabrina, can I talk to you a minute?